Hello, everyone. I'm Greg Otta with FedScoop TV, and we're here at Fed Talks 2015, and I'm talking with Peter Coffey, the VP of Strategic Research with Salesforce. Peter, thanks for joining us today.
Great to be here, Greg. Thank you.
So this is FedScoop's big event for the year, but I know that Salesforce just had their big event a couple weeks ago, actually a couple months ago in September with Dreamforce. Tell me about the takeaways for federal government that happened at Dreamforce.
Sure. It's been remarkable to notice that even in the time that I've been with Salesforce and the company has grown by maybe a factor of 8, Dreamforce has grown by a factor of 20. We had over 177,000 people register this year. What that tells you is that this is not a 20-fold growth in the population that's interested in what we used to do. This is a broadening of the interest that really continues what began with things like the spreadsheet, where now I didn't need to call a programmer if I wanted to manipulate data. I could start to ask questions and then refine my questions based on what I learned. Well, the problem with the spreadsheet is that it's not a good tool for collaboration. It's not a good tool for mobile or secure transaction management. What we were able to do at Dreamforce this year is say to people, a global application with mobile capability, with strong security, with integral collaborative facilities, that's now in your hands without needing to bring in a scarce and time-consuming development process to get in the way. So from things like the Lightning components, the ability to package the things you know so that other people, maybe in other agencies, can use them, and also in the Wave Analytics technology that let people really get a chance to get their hands into data in a way that was not really practical before, to explore it on a mobile device, to exchange it in the field with someone who really understands the problem being solved. Dreamforce this year was really about putting more power in the hands of the people who best understand and want to own the problem.
So, Wave, you were just talking about. Tell me more about the program and how program managers and not just IT professionals could make practical use of it, specifically within the federal government.
Wave addresses some really important problems as we have these enormous amounts of data becoming available to us from connected products and connected processes, connected vehicles, connected medical devices, and so on. The traditional architectures for dealing with data don't deal well with enormous volumes of data, and what Wave has under the hood is an algorithm that's much more like the way Google or Kayak is indexing a database, and so it can handle literally you can explore 1 billion rows of data on your phone.
Wow, nice.
And visualize and interact with that data. And then the other question is, once you've found something, what do you do with it? We've actually put the collaboration facilities right into Wave, so that when I see something that makes me wonder what's going on, with 2 taps I can circle that in red with my fingertip and email it to someone and say, please explain this. Now, why does this matter? Traditionally, programs have said, this is what we're going to do, and this is what we can measure ourselves doing, and this is what we're going to budget for. Because measuring the outcome, well, outcomes happen sometime later in some other place, and traditionally you didn't really have good tools for measuring that. Well, as I've said, now it's a much more connected world, and we can measure outcomes in ways that we could not before, and that's why everyone engaged in the process of allocating resources, justifying resources, proving that their program produced a result. I think they need to see a tremendous amount of opportunity here to produce and analyze and make the case based on data that what they're doing is the right thing, or that out of the 3 different things that have been tried, this is the one that needs the resources to get doubled down. That's why data is so important now to people who never thought of themselves as analytics professionals, because now so many programs have the opportunity to be managed on what they accomplished instead of just documenting what they did.
Okay, interesting. So you recently wrote that we're moving beyond the age of coding and that getting the experience right is more important for developers. What does that mean for CIOs?
It's great to have the chance to talk about what development productivity means, because for so many years, you were able to measure the number of lines of code someone wrote.
Right.
It was a very objective measure, and unfortunately that became conflated with programmer productivity. Lines of debugged code produced. Well, code isn't an outcome. Code is an expenditure. You wouldn't compliment a federal agency manager on how much power they generated to keep the lights on in their building. You'd say, why are you generating power? Shouldn't you be getting that from the grid? And now instead of writing code, we're in a mode where we can say to people, well, why are you writing code to do that? You could have pulled that off the net as an API. You could have invoked that as an external service. Now what this means for the CIO and for the manager of a development team is that instead of treating someone as a factory worker who grinds out lines of code, I need to start talking to a developer as being almost like a little movie producer or product manager and saying, look, your job here is to craft an experience and an outcome, whether it's an internal user or a member of the served community or citizen. And your job is to be looking at all the different sources. Maybe you'll write some code once in a while. I'm not saying it's an absolute last resort, but it should certainly never be the first resort anymore. The first resort should be to say, where has this already been done in a way that I can simply grab it and plug it in? And so some of the things that we have done recently of taking what used to be a fairly large blocky object of an application and say, actually now you can start to craft and package components that can easily be recomposed the same way you drag the tiles around on your Fitbit dashboard. What we're actually seeing internally at Salesforce is that a question that used to be answered by writing a page of instructions or doing a 3-minute webinar, that question is now being answered by the person who understands the problem, writing an app and saying, here's the app on the internal app store. This is an amazing idea, is that if you have a question, I can answer that question not only for you, but for everyone else with a similar question by packaging how I suggest you do it in an app, and letting you download it, and then using the same kind of rapid update dynamic that we're all accustomed to enjoying every day on our phones, and saying, we don't need to spend a year on requirements definition. We can get something out that answers the question they have today. And if the question changes next month, putting out the update is just not a scary idea anymore. I think that that's a tremendously exciting idea for anyone who manages a team, and if that team is responsible to a larger community, because really, isn't every team responsible either to an internal or external customer? You can really think about the service you're providing instead of being obsessed with the low-level details of the artifact that you have to create.
So if I boil it down, you're basically saying quality over quantity.
I'm saying do the right thing well enough instead of the wrong thing perfectly. I'm saying really be in the mind of the person whose problem is being solved instead of in the mind of the committee 3 months ago that was having to put together the project plan.
Right.
It's tremendously important now to say we really can now listen to people and give them their evolving solution. And that's something that everyone now can do at every level of an organization.
Interesting. Okay, so you get to see all types of different innovation on a global level. Talk to me about some of the innovation that you've seen over the past year, and give me 2 or 3 things that you think federal CIOs can integrate into their enterprise IT systems.
The most important change in behavior now is that, and it's almost impossible to overstate how important this is that we need to be working inward and upward from a served community to find out how their understanding of their needs evolves, instead of what's been the traditional model of downward and outward from some people in a room saying, well, this is what needs to be built, and then a year later there it is, and maybe it's right and maybe it's not. Now what that means in practical terms is this: to engage people, you have to do more than just put a screen in front of them and say, here, fill this in. Techniques of gamification and other ways of engaging an external community and really making them try hard to provide their best input on things. This is something I'll be discussing at the Fed Talks conference today. This is a discipline that's not familiar to most people who've done software development all their lives. You're asking them essentially to become applied psychologists,
right,
and to design systems that make people want to participate in them, because that's where that value is going to arise. You need to be working with large sets of data. The only way to do that in a scalable way is to start understanding some of the algorithms for pattern recognition and machine learning, and then the larger question about how do I make sure that I deliver this in the context where it's going to be used. These are not the things that people have traditionally been asked to be good at doing, but they are really today the area where a team has the greatest possible opportunity to add value.
Great. Very, very interesting conversation, Peter. Thanks for joining us today.
Good to be here. Thank you so much, Greg.
For all of our videos, you can check out our YouTube channel, and for more information, you can check out fedscoop.com. I'm Greg Otto. Thanks for watching.